Hi everyone, this is Brian from HobbyQuest, and today I'll be showing you how to put together the Starlet. This is a 2-day project, and it is a rubber band powered model. All right. So because it is a 2-day project, you're going to want to make sure that you have a place to store or keep your materials for after the first day, so you can easily access it all the second day. Okay. And let's get started. So your Starlet is actually going to come inside a packet like this, okay? You don't really need any tools for this project, but you will want to keep in mind that you're probably going to want to have tape or double-sided tape, just for anything that you might need to fix, all right? So once everybody has one of these packets, you can get ready. You can get started by having your students open up one side of your bag. Make sure to tell students that they shouldn't, should try not to break the bag, because you want to have some place to keep all your extra parts for the second day of the project. Okay. Once the bag is open, you'll want to take out the parts that you need to work with. So what we're going to want to have are these two fuselage parts. We have an upper fuselage with a little pilot inside, and we'll have the lower fuselage. Okay. And then you're going to want to take out the small bag with all the little bits inside, because we're going to need that on the first day as well. And you're going to want to, lastly, to have the propeller, which looks like this. Okay. Everything else you can keep inside the bag because you might not get to it the first day. So we're going to keep everything else, the wings and everything else, keep this all to the side inside the bag. Okay. And when everything is out of the bag, you want to have your students just arrange their table in a neat way so that everything is separate and they can see everything, and all the pieces aren't all on top of one another. Okay. So once these parts are out, we're gonna start by taking the propeller, which looks like this, and just holding it and observing it. Okay. The first thing you're going to point out is the fact that the propeller has a little hook on it, a little metal hook, so that's going to be important. And we have an upper part of the propeller and a lower part. Now the upper part is above the hook, and it has a small hole. If you look very carefully, there's a small hole in it. Okay, and that's just to help indicate where the upper piece is going to go. Okay. So we're going to start by taking our upper fuselage, which has a little pilot in it, and make sure that the pilot is actually facing the propeller, because the propeller needs to be at the front of our plane. And you're going to line it up with one of the slots in the propeller. Now we're going to slide this into the upper slot, which is the one near the hole. So we're going to slide this part in place just like this. Okay, and it should go right in. It should go in very easily. Okay, just like that. Once that's done, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting on the landing gear. Now the landing gear comes inside this bag, but inside this bag, make sure to note that there are a lot of little bits and pieces. So when students open this up, they want to make sure not to lose any of the pieces, so they don't want to do this very aggressively, otherwise all the pieces will go flying everywhere. They're going to want to just open it very carefully. If needed, they can use scissors to open it up, just so that just as an extra precaution, so they don't lose everything. And we're going to pull out our landing gear first. Okay. So the landing gear looks like this. It comes all twisted up. There's a metal part and these two wheels. Okay, it'll come twisted up first. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to go ahead and just untwist them. And to do that, you just have to pull them apart like this, and then let it go, and it should just kind of pop into place and open up just like this. And what we have at the very center is a bent piece of metal. That piece of metal is actually going to slide into a special slot on our propeller. Okay, so right below this metal hook, you have a slot indicated by a line that kind of protrudes out, and you can slide that metal piece into that slot just like this, and it should just hold your wheels like that. Okay. Now, at this point, We don't want to attach the lower part of our fuselage yet. We're going to do that in just a bit. Okay. So the next part that we're going to attach is going to be the wing mount. Now the wing mount is going to go on the upper part of our fuselage, and it's going to be attached where these two holes are, right before the pilot. There are two holes there. And we're going to go back into our bag, okay, and we're going to dig out this part, which looks like a plus symbol, and two very small pegs inside the bag. Now these can be kind of hard to find and very easy to lose because they're very small, so make sure that students don't lose them. If they drop them on the floor, they'll have to look around for them. It might be kind of hard to find. They might actually not find it again if it's on the floor. But if they do lose one of them, they can still put this together with just one of the pegs. But ideally we'll want to have both, okay? So what we're going to want to do with these two pegs is that we're going to insert them into these holes after we attach the wing mount to it, okay? Now the wing mount is going to go right on top of the upper fuselage, just like this, and you should be able to line up the two holes on the underside of the wing mount with the holes on the fuselage. Now from this view you can see that the six holes that are on this plus symbol are going to be at the back half of this wing mount. All right. If you were to put it the other way, it would not fit correctly, and also these holes won't line up, so it won't stay in place. Okay. So you want to place the wing mount like this, line up the holes, and then you're going to take one of the pegs and slide it into one of the holes in order to lock the wing mount in place. This should be pretty easy. It shouldn't be too hard to get it in, but if it is tough for some of the kids, then you can go and help them along if needed. Now once the pegs are in, the wing mount should stay in place, so it shouldn't come off anymore. Okay, it should look just like this. And once that's done, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take our rubber band. We're going to want to take our tail mount piece, which looks like this. It kind of looks a little like an elf shoe. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to take the tail mount piece and we want to slide this in place. So this is the upper part of our plane, of our fuselage, and what we're going to do is we're going to slide this piece in just like this, so that this long portion of the tail mount will line up with the upper fuselage. Okay. Once that's done, you want to take your rubber band and just untie the rubber band. It's tied up bits at the center, so you'll just pull from the center to get it undone. Okay. This can take a little bit of time. It can be tough sometimes for younger students to pull this apart. We just want to unravel the rubber band just like this. Now once the knot is undone, you're going to have, what you'll have is this long string of rubber band. Okay, so what we need to do in order to work with this rubber band is we're going to need to tie the ends together. So you want to take the two ends of your rubber band, bring them together, and just show your students how to tie a knot at the ends. All right, just by doing a regular knot, tie both of the ends together just like this, so that you end up with a rubber band like that. Okay. Now, once you have that done, what we'll want to do is we're going to want to attach the rubber band between the two hooks. There's a metal hook right here near the propeller, and then there's also a small plastic hook right over here, right underneath the, right at the center of the tail mount. Okay. So what we're going to do to attach this is we're going to want to go back into our bag. We're going to want to find one of these little pieces that looks like a hole, a cylinder of sorts. And what this piece is going to help hold the fuselage together at the center. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and attach this. We're going to attach one of the clips on the side of the cylinder to our fuselage. And you're going to want to take the rubber band. You're going to want to double it up. Okay, double it up one time. And you're going to attach one end of the rubber band. Ideally, the end that doesn't have the knot. You're going to want to attach it to the metal hook. Okay. Once you've done that, you're going to want to slide the rubber band through the center of the cylinder and out the other end. Okay, so it looks something like this. You may have to adjust the cylinder again once you've gotten it through. And you're going to want to take the rest of the rubber band and just bring it around the hook at the back end of your plane, just like this. Okay, so it's going to look something like this once that's done. And lastly, at this point, most of our fuselage is done. The only thing we have to attach now is the lower fuselage, which looks like this. Okay, so the lower fuselage is going to slide into in between the propeller and the tail mount. Okay, now this is the lower part, so in order to attach this, sometimes you're going to have to remove the mount, the tail mount. So you want to clip everything in place first. You want to pull the tail mount off, and then pinch everything together and slide everything back in place carefully. All right, make sure that this part of the tail mount, the long piece, still lines up with the upper part of the fuselage. Okay, and it should go something like this. Okay, now at this point, because of all the assembly, you're probably going to be done with the first day. Okay, so once this is all done, what you can do is you can take the rest of the pieces that are inside the little bag. You're going to place all of this back inside the larger bag, and you can actually slide this completed fuselage back into the bag as well. It should fit back in. It'll stick out a little bit, but you can place it back in the bag. You can write your student's name somewhere on the bag or inside the bag so that you know it's theirs. And just keep for the rest until the second day, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the second day now. So during the second day, you can hand out your pieces back to your students. And once they get them, they can pull out these pieces one more time. And this time what they're gonna wanna do is they're gonna want to actually take the bag with the wings out, along with these pieces right over here. You want to take those out as well. And you won't need the rest of this, so you can actually discard the rest of the material, the rest of the bag. So what we want to do from here is we're going to want to attach our wings and our tail pieces to the plane. And to do that, you're going to want to have to use some double-sided tape, which comes inside this bag. So what we'll need is you'll want to take everything outside the bag, and you'll find that you have your rudder, your elevator, your wings, which look like this, and tape. Okay, so this yellow piece is tape that we'll use after we've attached the wings, but you'll want to look for this white piece right here. It has some pre-cut designs which you can actually just remove from the paper, and you'll want to take off this one first. This is of course going to fit onto our perfectly right onto our wing mount. Okay, so in order to remove the tape, you're going to want to peel off one side of the paper. Okay, so we're going to peel off one side first. This can be a little hard for some students to do, so just be aware, keep that in mind. And once it's peeled off, you're going to want to work with the sticky side. Okay, make sure you tell your students that we're using the sticky side, not the other side. The other side we actually won't need anymore. It's just a piece of paper. We can actually just discard that. And once you have this peeled off and it's sticky, you're going to want to stick it onto the wing mount as best you can. Try to line it up as carefully as you can. If it doesn't line up perfectly, that's okay. You don't want to have your students, just make sure your students don't peel them off again. You don't want to have them take it off because then it gets torn or it becomes unsticky. Um, and then what you'll have to do is you'll have to replace it with other double-sided tape. Um, if you do need to replace it with double-sided tape, you can just use your own double-sided Scotch tape to attach this wing. Okay, so we're gonna have this on. Now, once this is placed on, you can then peel off the other side of the paper. Make sure that the sticky tape is still on the wing mount. You're gonna peel this off. You can discard the paper. And what we're gonna do with this wing is we're gonna open up your wings like this, and we're gonna be attaching it to the wing mount, right at the center, okay? Now, one thing to know about this wing is that there is a crease cut into it that goes right across the long part of the wing, okay? And what that crease does is that it's there to make the wing more aerodynamic by giving it that curved shape that you'll see on wings. And what we want to do first before we actually attach it is you'll want to just very carefully bend that crease, okay, just like that. You'll want to bend it back just to make a curved wing shape, okay? And tell your students to make sure they're doing it very carefully. They don't want to bend it all the way because then it might break, okay? Once that's done, and once that's all done, what you'll do is we're going to be attaching the wings to the wing mount. Now, one important thing to note is that the blue part of the wing, the blue edge of the wing, is actually at the front of your plane. So when you attach your wing, make sure that the blue part of the wing is actually on the front of it. Okay, just like that. And that wing goes right on, just like that, okay? Now, what next thing we're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna use the rest of your double-sided tape, which is still on this sheet over here. It's underneath the piece that we just took off. And what you'll wanna do is you'll wanna just peel off these pieces once more. You're gonna have a long piece and two short pieces, okay? We're gonna start with the longer piece, all right? And what we're gonna do with this is you're gonna peel off one side of double-sided tape, and once you have that peeled off, we're gonna be using it to attach our elevator. Okay, so once more, you peel off one side of the tape, discard the piece that you don't need, and make sure you're using the sticky side. We're gonna stick that now on the underside of the tail mount. Okay, this should fit onto that long piece, the long flat portion of the tail mount. Okay, and once you get it on, smooth it out, and peel off the other side of that double-sided tape. And this is going to be attached to the tail mount, which looks like this, to the elevator, which looks like this. So the elevator, once again, is going to fit onto the plane, similar to how the wings fit. You can see that the blue edge is at the front. So we're going to have the blue edge once more facing the front. And you just want to place it near the center and stick it on. If it's not completely centered, it's okay. You don't want to have your students fiddle around with it and peel it off again because then they might break it or tear the elevator. Okay, so if they get it on, if they put it on, once they put it on, that they should leave it alone. They shouldn't try to adjust it, and it will work perfectly fine even if it's not perfectly centered. Now the next part we're going to want to use is these two pieces of double-sided tape. They were connected before I peeled them apart. And what these are going to connect is the rudder, okay? So what we'll do with this part is we're going to peel off the larger piece first, okay? We're gonna place it on the side, standing up, of this tail mount, this little flap that stands up right over here. You wanna place it on the side and peel it off, okay? Okay. You're gonna wanna use the smaller one as well, and we're gonna peel off one side. Now the smaller one actually goes on the side the opposite side of the tail mount, so this side, and it's going to go on the side over here close to the where the hook is, right above where the hook is. And we're going to place that right over here in place. And once more, peel this off. All right. So once you have both pieces of tape in place, you're going to want to take your rudder, and we're going to want to place the rudder between those pieces of tape, and just stick it in place just like this. Okay, and just pinch it a little in order to make sure it stays on. All right, and the rudder should fit just like this. Okay. There are some flaps that you can bend in order to adjust your flight on the rudder and as well as the elevator. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay. Now, with this, we have a plane that looks almost complete, but this plane has a couple more parts to put on. We still have the tape that's on this yellow sheet, this clear tape. And what this is, you can peel off one side, is that it just helps to keep the wings mounted in place, and they just go on the underside of your wings, where the plastic mount is attached to the wings. This should help secure it so it's harder for it to fall off in flight. So this should go on this on one side, and the other piece should go on the other side. And just make sure you smooth it out, just like that. Okay. Now, we also have a few other parts that are left over from the bag we used during the first day. What you'll have is this small rectangular shaped, cubicle shaped piece, and these two pieces here. Now, where this little cubicle piece goes, is it goes into this small hole on the lower part of the fuselage under the wings. So you can go ahead and just slide that in place. It should only really fit in one way. So make sure that it's oriented right and slide it in. And it should go right in there, okay, like that. Now what this is for is it's to hold these pieces together. Now if you look at this piece, both of these pieces, you're gonna see they're identical. And on one end of the piece there is one bent piece of plastic. On the other end there are two pieces of plastic protruding from the end. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the end that only has one bent piece of plastic, and we're going to slide that into that little box that we just inserted to the lower fuselage. It should slide right in from the top, slide right down, and fit in place. And you'll want to take this little piece right over here and slide it into the wings. There's actually a small part of the wing here that will pop off. Okay, so you can slide it in. And we want to do the same thing for the other side. So you'll want to slide this little end into place. You'll want to take this end and you'll want to slide it in. You're going to want to bend it a little bit and slide it into the little part on the wing that pops off. You'll be able to see it. There's a little cutout that shows you where to put it in. And this is what you should end up having. Okay? All right, so in order to fly this plane, you're going to want to wind up your propeller by hand, by twisting it like this, and you'll want to wind it up clockwise, just like all of our other models, in order to have it fly. So you just want to twist it and twist it and twist it, and when you're ready to fly it, you can just let go, and it should fly off. Once you're ready to fly it, hold it like this. Let go of the propeller, count down 3, 2, 1, and let it go. All right. So I hope that this was very informative for you. And thank you. I'd like to thank you, and I hope you have a great quest.